você, qual é o tamanho de um abraço? Qual é o tamanho de um olhar? De um sorriso? A vida é feita de vários momentos, e eles podem ter o tamanho que você quiser. Um abraço pode ter o tamanho de uma saudade, de um até logo, ou de um eu consegui. Um olhar pode ter o tamanho de uma descoberta, de um amor incondicional, ou de um grande orgulho. O futuro também é assim. Ele pode ter o tamanho que você sonhar. É por ele que a PUC do Rio Grande do Sul pesquisa, inova e educa todos os dias. Pesquisas que contribuem com o desenvolvimento da sociedade. Inovação que nos ajuda a criar novas soluções para um novo mundo. E educação para a vida das pessoas. É por isso que temos um campus do tamanho da nossa vontade de aprender, de descobrir e de ensinar cada vez mais. É por isso que nossa comunidade, nossos estudantes, professores, técnicos e profissionais de inúmeras áreas são incansáveis na busca do conhecimento e de soluções. É assim que fazemos da PUC uma universidade do tamanho dos sonhos, dos abraços, dos olhares, dos sorrisos e das conquistas de quem acredita que o futuro tem apenas um tamanho: o tamanho que a gente quiser.
Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. I would like to welcome you all to this online event. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm Carla Cassol, the Executive Coordinator of the Office for International Cooperation of Pontifícia Universidade Católica do Rio Grande do Sul. I was kindly invited by the consortium of private non-profit universities from Rio Grande do Sul, better known as Comungue, of which PUC Rio Grande do Sul is a member, to be the mediator of the webinar, Job Crafting and Wellbeing in the Pandemics. The chat function is available for you to make comments or ask questions. We also encourage you to use this tool to introduce yourselves, the institution that you represent, and the country from where you are watching us. Well, now that we are all connected, I would like to thank our guest, Dr. Manoela de Oliveira from PUC Rio Grande do Sul, for joining us. I also would like to thank our colleagues from Comungue, our institutional partners, associations, colleagues from other universities, professors, researchers, students, and everyone else who is here with us. Well, before we start, it is important to remember that the consortium of private non-profit universities from Rio Grande do Sul represents a network for education, science, and technology, whose actions have been developed in almost every city of the state. It is joined by 14 educational institutions, 8,735 faculty members, and more than 11,000 staff members. The consortium embraces 189,224 university students from Rio Grande do Sul and 1,465 undergrad and graduate programs. It is the largest higher education system in operation in Rio Grande do Sul. We are very proud to be part of this and to have the opportunity to strengthen the bonds between our universities. I would like to remind you that you must follow the link that we send in the chat function if you want to get a certificate of attendance for this event. So let us get started. Please welcome Dr. Manoela de Oliveira to deliver the lecture, Job Crafting and Wellbeing in the Pandemic. Manoela Ziebell de Oliveira is a certified psychologist. She holds a master and a PhD in psychology from Universidade Federal do Rio Grande do Sul. She teaches in both the undergraduate and graduate programs in psychology of Pontifícia Universidade Católica do Rio Grande do Sul. She also holds a research productivity grant from the Brazilian government through CNPq. It's a national agency that supports scientific and technological development. She was the editor-in-chief of the Brazilian Journal of Professional Guidance between 2018 and 2020. Current is the president of the Brazilian Association of Professional Orientation till 2021, and is a member of the JEDcast team. The JEDcast is a podcast that contains various scientific investigations in the area of career and is available to the public in general. Please welcome Dr. Oliveira.
Thank you, Carla, for the introduction. I'll start sharing my screen with you now. I'll apologize for my English, which is a little bit rusty, but I think as the presentation goes along, I'll be becoming better with it. Just let me now share with, here you go. So as Carla presented me, I am a psychologist, but most important now, I would like to tell you that I am member of a task force called Psicovida, which is what originated the work I'm going to present to you today. So Psicovida is a group of researchers from different fields of expertise and different universities who wanted to share knowledge produced in research and help people to handle better the situations caused by the pandemics. I worked with 3 teams of Psicovida to produce 3 ebooks and guides focused specifically on the theme of home office. And today I would like to talk to you about one of them, which is titled Job Crafting, Guide of Job Crafting for Workers and Managers in the Pandemics. So for starters, I would like to tell you about some questions we've heard as a team at the beginning of the pandemics and later on after we were some months at home. So at the beginning, people would come to us psychologists and ask us, how do you keep productive during home office? That was the main concern of many people, journalists, students, workers who had to change their working lives and their working environments from day to night. After a few months, people started to look at each other and see some people being able to produce and to have great results, and some others having to struggle with this new reality. And everyone started to ask psychologists mainly if being uber productive was right for people or was healthy or if it was good for people. And those 2 questions combined led us to try to come up with some material to help individuals to organize their work in home office as a strategy to become more productive, but to keep healthy, to keep their well-being, and to feel good about the work they were doing at home. So to start with, I would like to tell you a bit about well-being and a bit about the theory that has guided all this work I'm going to present to you. And then, of course, we'll get to the job crafting part of the presentation. So the first thing I would like for you to know and to understand is that when I'm talking about work and working in this presentation, I'm not talking about something which is bad or good for you. I'm talking about spending energy. So I understand, and the positive psychology, which is the background theory, understands that working is only spending energy. So sometimes if you do work a lot, and for a long time, and you have many challenges, you might feel overwhelmed. So I'd like for you to think about your home office situation and about the pandemics. And I would like for you to answer for yourself or to someone who is with you right now. Have you ever felt tired and overwhelmed after a working week in pandemics, in home office? Or have you ever had a month full of diverse and demanding tasks at work? How did it make you feel? Another question for you, or actually an explanation for you. When we have times like this, when we have to work different tasks and diverse tasks, and work is too demanding for too long, we might have a drain of energy. This might make us feel fatigued, and the result might be difficulties in other areas regarding health. So this situation describes an illness process that might be caused by frequent and continuous job demands or by some poorly planned job, which results in exhaustion of professionals' mental health, physical or emotional resources. What I'm saying to you right now is that if working is spending energy, we need to balance the energy spent with resources that we might gain from the organization or from our own life, private life, in different situations. So for those of you who are more visual, there's a scheme here that might help to understand. In general, in our lives, but right now I'm talking specifically about work, we have demands, which are physical, cognitive, emotional efforts that we have to make to do the work we have to do, and that demands some energy from us. In contrast, we have resources. Those resources might be social and structural aspects of work that help us to deal with high demands and avoid burnout, for instance, which is one of the health conditions that we might reach if we do not balance both of them. So every time we have demands, we are draining energy from the total energy we have to work with. The more demands I have, the more exhaustion, or the greater are the chances that I reach exhaustion. In the opposite hand, the more resources I have, the more I can balance with those demands, and the fewer are the chances that I will get to exhaustion. Uh, in this whole picture, we also have personal resources, which are those characteristics we have. I'm going to talk about them a little bit in a few minutes. And those personal resources also help us to diminish the levels of exhaustion. And on the other hand, they help us to get more engaged with the work we do. When I'm talking about engagement here, I'm talking about the level of commitment and the level of involvement with the work activities we do, not necessarily with the organization we work for. So we need personal resources as well as organizational resources to feel more engaged with the activities we do daily. The work engagement also will help us to diminish the levels of exhaustion. So the more we feel engaged, the less exhausted we'll feel, because work engagement makes us feel more energetic about the things we do. And also work engagement will help us to have better performance at work, in opposition of what exhaustion makes us feel. So the more exhausted, the less performance, the poorer will be our performance. And this whole picture answers both questions people asked us during the pandemics. So how can I be productive? I have to feel more engaged. I have to count on personal and organizational resources. What is being uber productive good or bad or right for you? It depends on how much energy is drained, so how much exhausted I feel. And this will directly impact our performance at work. So, how can we better handle this balance between demands and resources at work? A lot of research shows that job crafting, which I'll talk about in a little bit, have a significant impact on engagement and on well-being in different contexts. But what job crafting is? This is a proactive action that people do that change the individual's job experience. So why do we do job crafting? Because we need to feel competent, we need to feel autonomous, and we need to feel that we belong into a relationship with other people. And what do we do when we do job crafting. So what we change in our work to make it better work, to make it turning to a better life experience and to give us more energy, since we are wasting energy as we work. People change their tasks, the way they organize them, the quantity of tasks they have, how they do the tasks. They change interaction patterns, so with whom they relate to when they work and how they relate to other people when they work. And they change the meaning of the work they do. So what the specific activity they are doing at the moment means to them, to the organization, and to the world. And why do people do this? Because they need to feel competent. So the question that needs to be made when we talk about feeling competent is, do you feel competent? Do you feel able to dominate or control your work activities? When people feel competent, they usually will feel useful, and they will feel competent, efficacious when related to what they do. So not always the environment will help to provide the necessary conditions for people to effectively do their job. And in these cases, they might feel less competent. But in general, when they do feel this, they will feel more likely to engage in different job activities, and they will feel that the results of their job are better. Another need that needs to be achieved when we do our work and when we change our work to in order to do job crafting is autonomy. The question for this is, do you feel free to speak up and to defend your real actions and opinions in your job? When people feel they are autonomous, they feel they are understood, and they feel they are encouraged to participate actively in the activities they do. They generally will think that the choices they make reflect what they believe, and that they are allowed to do both. And when we are talking about the need for relationship, we have to ask to answer the question, do you feel you have significant interactions at work? When people do feel they have those significant interactions, they feel they can establish bonds with other people, and that there are people at their work that care about them as a person. So that's those three are the main reasons and the main needs that lead people to actually do job crafting in order to make their jobs more interesting and more satisfying. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the resources I mentioned before, and then I'm going to give you a series of tips to help you to do job crafting and feel better about the work you are actually doing. So about resources, is important to mention that they are needed, they are important to help people reach their goals, to lower the levels of stress, and to help people grow in their work places, and to develop in their careers. Resources are usually related to the values an individual has. So what is more important to them in their working life? Resources also are related to the competences people have. So what skills, talents, and unique attributes are relevant to their work and to them. And resources are related to motivation, which are the interests and passions an individual has, and the activities they do that allow them to put their interests and passions into work. So when I can do a work that contemplates my values, my competences, and my motivations, what I'm doing is increasing the levels of resources I have to deal with the demands a job is requiring from me. Having those helps me to balance what is needed and what is satisfying in my job, and makes me more prone to develop engagement at work. So how can I do to give light to my resources and help them and help to balance them with the demands I have. So I'm going to present you strategies related to competence, to autonomy, and to belonging, and also strategies related to, to those values, competences, and motivations. So to start with, one important tip is sharing tips on how to be productive in the home office or train colleagues in your area of expertise. Also experience new technologies and tools in remote work and learn new skills, and try to structure the day or week considering values, skills, and motivations. All those four actions will help you to feel more competent in because you are going to help other people to develop, and to do so you'll have to put your competences into action, your skills into action. It will allow you to also gather with colleagues, which will help you to give attention to other important needs that you have to prioritize sometimes, and will help you to learn new skills, which will also help you to feel more competent. Some other tips are to help you to pay attention to your autonomy are to divide your time into several task blocks and define where to spend more time, considering your values, your competences, and motivations, and to set deadlines. So if you organize your big tasks into smaller ones, it's easier to see how to conduct, how to approach them, and it's easier to see if you are really achieving your goals and finishing the tasks you have. If you prioritize your values, your competence, and your motivation, it also helps you to conduct your work in a way that engages you more with the activities you are doing. So it makes the work more pleasurable. Also, set goals daily and weekly for yourself and outline a plan of what you want to achieve. If you can see all the things you have to do, it's easier for you to get organized, and it's easier for you to conduct the work the way you think is better for you and fits better your home office situation, instead of following the instructions of someone who might not be that familiar with the situation you are living at the moment. Also, it's important to seek role clarity. Since we are our relationships are being mediated by technology, sometimes it's difficult to understand what you are supposed to be doing in different kinds of situations. So it's very important to ask people what they expect from you, so you can really pay attention to this and deliver what is being expected. It's important to ask for clarification when you don't understand something, because of the same reasons I gave you and mentioned before. And it's important to try to communicate more, to produce consensus and register what is agreed upon different parts. This helps you to seek for clarity, and this helps to avoid misunderstandings between the team and between colleagues, or with your manager or your superior. Also, to assure more autonomy, it's important to encourage your manager to trust you to decide your own time to suit your domestic demands. Again, as I mentioned before, not everybody is familiar with their colleagues or their subordinates' situation in home office. So it's important to let your manager or your superior know how it's better for you to do your work, and to assure them that you can deliver whatever you agreed upon. So also it's important to request feedback if possible in a synchronous way, because if the feedback is mediated by some technology, or if there is some gap of time between the feedback you receive and the response you can give to it, it might not be that helpful for you, because you might not have the time to answer to it, and even to discuss the feedback you received, which is also important for both parts to know what is going on with the other part. It's important to set boundaries with your family. I believe that everybody has faced at least one difficult day at home with your family, needing your attention and needing your support. But it's important to discuss with your family when are the working times and when are the break times, so everyone can be together, but everyone can work and deliver whatever is expected from them. It's important, following this advice, to work as a team with the people with whom you live. So share tasks and involve even children in the tasks. There are some that they are able to do, considering their age and their development. Their development. So try to share the tasks at home, respecting the differences between all the residents of your home. And it's, again, I mentioned this already, it's important to distribute your time between work and housework and free time, so you can enjoy all the roles you are occupying. To be able to care for your relationships, is important to make time to chat with your colleagues, especially when things are not doing right. So share again your experiences and your difficulties. It's important to promote informal interactions with people, so you can still feel you belong to a team and to an organization. It's interesting to share fun experiences about adapting to the home office situation. Before we started this webinar, we were sharing among us some fun situations, and it helps us to feel more comfortable and to feel that we belong to a group of people who are facing difficulties adapting, but are finding also strategies for it. Behave in ways that contribute to a positive environment. This means that sometimes you'll do more than your job requires from you, not just the specific description of your job, but you'll also help the psychological environment. You'll help people who are facing who are struggling with different situations, and make them feel better about the whole pandemic and the home office situation. Also, keep practicing active listening. Show that you are interested in what people are saying. Again, having the screens among us help us to hide sometimes, and that might give someone the feeling that they are not being heard, that they are not important, and that's not what we want right now. Um, to help you to find meaning in the work you do, look for motivational phrase. A motto sometimes will help you. So I like one that says, keep on swimming. Even if the tide is difficult, keep on swimming. Search and share ways to innovate at work. So if you tried something different and it worked and it helped you to do your work, share with others, make them their life a little bit easier during home office. Perform your tasks to the extent possible. Understand that you have limitations, that this is a difficult situation, and that you will not always be able to give your best result, but you are giving the best intention, and that is also important. Create a home office environment conducive to autonomy based on trust and dialogue. And this requires from you to have a constant and systematic interaction with your superiors and with your colleagues. And to almost close my presentation, I know that I'm on time. The change is going to be in the way an individual perceives his work, and this can increase his engagement levels and general well-being. That's why I'm giving you all of those tips. And to finally close, some tips for managers or superiors. Try to avoid micromanagement. This makes people feel they are not autonomous. They feel they are not supposed to give insight on how to do their work. And this doesn't contemplate diversity. try to support autonomy, provide your workers with it, and assess the possibility of working toward goals and objectives agreed with the team members and not working schedules. And finally, increase the resources. The managers and superiors are very important in helping individuals to find and to increase resources to deal with the challenging demands they are facing during home office and the pandemics. So that's what I had for you today. I'm sorry I took a little longer than I was supposed to, but I'm available for questions now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Oliveira, for your relevant contribution on job crafting and well-being in these difficult times that we are facing, and lots of work at home, and working from home is not easy for everyone. So now it is time for questions and answers. You can continue to submit your questions, people, through the chat function. I'll read the questions live and Dr. Oliveira will answer them. The first question we have is, what is the organizational gain when you promote job crafting among employees?
Well, the biggest gain is that you are going to have more engaged employees. So actually, job crafting is initiated by the employees and not by the organization. And they do that in order to feel happier with the work they do, feel more productive, feel more autonomous, feel they belong to this organization. So whenever the organization provides the resources for the individuals to do job crafting, they will certainly have people more engaged with their daily activities. And even they might even have situations in which the employees suggest to the organization new practices that might lead to better performance, both individually and for a team or for the organization itself. So it's a gain-gain situation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Another question is that you've mentioned about promoting informal interactions. So the question is how, if you can give some examples on how to promote informal interactions. And that's my personal question as well. For the organization, how can the organization provide means, or not only means, but organize these informal interactions?
Okay, I'll start by the individuals and then I'll go for the organizations, because this is not actually something you do as an official thing from the organization. So for instance, if I like my colleagues and I don't see them for a long time, I can schedule a coffee or a happy hour through Zoom. I know it's not the same as looking at the person and being close to them, but it's a way to talk about many different things, including but not only about the organization. And it's a way to feel close to your colleagues. Some organizations I know of, usually smaller organizations, did things like happy hours and send their employees something nice to eat and schedule a time, and everybody was together and talking as if they were in a party or a cocktail or something. But they were in a virtual space that belonged to the organization. Both are easier to do when you are able to meet in person, because then you'll have the time to talk and gossip and share fun stories. But you can do both using the technology. So even giving a call to a friend, to a colleague, is an informal interaction, and it's something that should be done sometimes, especially again when someone is having problems, or when you feel some colleague or some subordinate is falling behind. It's important during the pandemics not leave anyone behind.
Yeah, that's great. And there's another question, which is, what are the positive points that this migration to the online will bring to the work environment in the future and to professional relations?
Okay. One of them, I think, is, for instance, what we are doing here. If it wasn't the online situation, maybe we couldn't aggregate that many people. So for me as a researcher, I'm being able to talk with people from different cities, from different countries. My research group meeting, weekly meeting, is being attended by more people than ever, because they don't need to get into a car and move around the city. So I think some interactions are going to be facilitated, and we are going to spend less time traveling, for instance. I know traveling is nice, but not always. Sometimes because of work, you have to go to a different city in one day and come back in the same day. And that's exhausting, and that's not really that productive for you or for the organization or for the people you are meeting. So I think the technology is getting people closer and allowing us to share more insights, more materials, more learning. And I don't know, I'm not sure if I answered the whole question, because I think there was another part that I might have missed. I'm sorry.
I think you did, because actually the question was about the positive points, and you've made time gain. But how about the negative ones? If you
Well,
see
there's one that I think is very important to discuss, which is when we did not work online that much, we have our working hours more clear to us and to the organizations. So we probably, everybody has more work to do than time to do the work they have. And when we are working at home, sometimes those boundaries are not that easy to differentiate, to establish. So I think the biggest risk is people having difficulty to find the time to relax, to find the time to enjoy their families and their leisure and their hobbies. So that's for me the big challenge we have. Finding time to do everything we want to do, like we did before the pandemics. Having to enter a car and go home makes you waste time, but also gives you the time to change from home to from work to home, and the opposite as well. So I think that time is somehow important, and we have to find a good replacement for it when we are home. Another day I was talking to a girl, and she said, well, sometimes when I realize I'm sitting for too long, I just turn on a music and I will go dance at my apartment. And that gives me the energy to go on with my day and gives me the break I need to think about things more clearly. So everyone is going to find their own way if they didn't already, but it is important to have those separate times to take on the different roles we already have.
yeah, self-organization in a sense is quite important.
Yes.
Good. Well, once again, thank you very much, Dr. Oliveira, for participating in this webinar. Your lecture has made a very meaningful contribution for employees and employers to better understand the job crafting actions. It is very useful in that it shows how job crafting strategies can have a significant impact on engagement and well-being in different contexts. This session also helped to promote the exchange of expertise between the universities affiliated to Comung around the world. Thank you, everyone, for attending this event and for your questions. If you have any other questions or suggestions, please send us an email. The address will be available in the chat function. Thank you again. Have a nice day or enjoyable evening, depending on where you are. Stay safe. Bye-bye.